Right, for more on the consequences of the U.S. occupation of Iraq, let's join Kelley Vlahos, who's a columnist at antiwar.com. Kelley, there are some Iraqis who say they're actually better off now than 10 years ago. Is there some cause for optimism?
Well, I think, as your reporter had been saying, is that it depends on who you are in Iraq, what your experience was in Iraq during the war, whether you profited from the massive influx of aid and graft into the country, a lot of it that had been wasted or lost. I mean, Americans spent $60 billion in Iraq, and $8 billion of that has been lost outright. It went somewhere. So there have been people who have profited from that aid, the waste, fraud, and abuse. And I'm sure they're living in a much better position right now than the majority of Iraqis. To be fair, I've seen some reports recently of young people who have expressed some optimism about their country, and I think that's great, and I think they have reason to believe that, you know, the revolutions across the Middle East and beyond will somehow pour into and inspire younger generation in Iraq to make a better country for them. But there is just so much left behind by the U.S. occupation that has not left ordinary Iraqis, particularly Sunnis and Christians, in a very good spot right now.
The operation is officially over. The troops are out of Iraq, but civilians face the constant threat of sectarian and terrorist violence. Should the troops have stayed until things calm down?
Well, I think there's a good argument to be made, and many of my colleagues have made it throughout the last decade, that the invasion and subsequent occupation of Iraq by U.S. and foreign forces actually created the sectarian crisis that we are seeing to this day. So no, I don't think that U.S. troops remaining in that country would have prevented further sectarian attacks or terrorist attacks in that country. I think a prolonged occupation would just fuel that, and it may be worse. It may have been worse if the United States had come to another agreement with the current central government there and kept massive amounts of U.S. troops occupying that country.
So with these deep divisions between the political factions, what's in store for the country's political future?
Well, I've been talking with some human rights activists in the country who have just returned from some travels in Iraq in both Shia and Sunni areas. And what I'm getting is that the sectarian divide is so deep right now, and it reaches all corners of the political life there in Iraq. I think until the government of Nouri al-Maliki can come to some sort of reconciliation with the Sunni people there, I don't think that they are going to have a fair or democratic say in the political future of Iraq. I think that we are only seeing the tip of the iceberg in terms of the protests there, the complaints about politically motivated detentions and jailings and torture there of Sunni men, and the arrest of women.
Kelley Vlahos.
I think that this is a deep problem.
Kelley Vlahos, antiwar.com columnist, thank you for your insight in the situation there in Iraq.